Suits is a busy Thursday here at the mighty SportsCage. We're 5 days into training camp. Rewind, jump in the Glen Suitor time machine. Now, you said training camp used to be a month. After 5 days, are you stiff and sore as a player? Is the off season catching up with you?
Yes. I've got a few things I got to get to too, but I'll answer that question first. That's one of the advantages, and it's kind of no one ever really talks about it. I mean, the veterans obviously have the edge because they know the game, they know the nuance, know how practice is run at the next level, all of those things. The young guys coming in are at a disadvantage. They got to try and catch up. But one of the other, edges that a veteran has is when in day 4, those rookies that have gone through rookie camp, you guys played hockey. You know what it's like when you're at the end of a shift and it's a long one and you got caught in your own end and you can't get off and your feet feel like you're in quicksand and you can barely move. I mean, whenever I hear someone criticize a pro hockey player who loses a puck battle, I think, man, I hope you know what it feels like to be at the late end of a shift. I don't care what level you're at, it could be beer league, but you're at the end of a shift and your legs are heavy and you're trying to battle. It is impossible. And that's what the rookies feel like around day 4. And then the veterans come in and they're just, bouncing around for a couple of days. And then day 3 or 4 for them, it kicks in. And by then the rookies now have started to sort of bounce back and get their second win. So I guess it evens out a little bit. But hey, 3 things I got to get to because I've been listening in all day. Love the discussion on the Leafs and what's going on. Sharky, I don't know if you remember 2 weeks ago, we talked about this. And now, hey, I don't want to disparage a pro hockey player. And there's a lot to like about a guy who scores as much as some of those top players for the Leafs, like Austin. But, it just, when you think about Crosby, Gretzky, I mean, we're talking about some of the best in the world, obviously, but Yzerman, I said at the beginning of the series, I just don't see it when the chips are down and it's a different style and it's full on block shots with your face if you have to. I just don't see it from them, from that leadership group. I haven't seen it in the playoffs with Toronto, and they got off to a good start, and hey, they still could win this series, but they're going to need some miraculous goaltending. They're going to need the other team to not play at its best, because I just don't know that there's another level there from their leadership group, partly because of age too, when you're talking, but it just, I don't know, Sharky, we talked about it a couple weeks ago, and it's just rearing its ugly head again with him.
You talk about Matthews, and again, I'm with you. I don't want to disparage the man because he is a fantastic goal scorer. But you're evaluated in your career, your hockey career, by these games, not by all the goals you score. In October and November, you're evaluated in your career and in hockey life by how many times they put your name on that silver bowl. And if it doesn't get on there, a lot of guys carry that their whole lives that they didn't win that big trophy. There's a lot of guys that are really still upset. And you're right, I don't see Matthews having the grit. But again, I think he's hurt. I think that injury, whatever has held him out earlier in the year, has come back. They're trying to push him through the lineup. And whatever it is more serious than we know because he's not playing like he can.
Well, right. And Sharky, you may be right. I'm sorry, and I don't want to belabor this too much, but you may be right on the injury. But if you're hurt and you're out there, or like you're injured and you're out there, then do the things that can lead and inspire. Like,
that's right.
If Austin Matthews goes down and blocks a shot on his knees with his chest, and then hustles and plays physically because he's limited with his skill because of his injury, watch him rally the rest of those guys around him. That's that. That Crosby's going to do that. That Steve Yzerman would have done that. Those guys are going to get the dirty goal in front of the net when they're just getting pounded. Like, I don't know. I've never really seen it in the playoffs from him. Sorry,
right,
Maz. I got sidetracked, but I was listening in.
I don't disagree with you.
You said there's three things. That's one. Number two, Glen Suitor, floor is yours.
Well, Sharky, the other thing was about the jerseys, and I thought for a while that you were doing the opposite. No. It hasn't been working lately with the Jets jersey, so I'm going to do the opposite and not wear the.
It worked with the Oiler jersey, so the Oiler jersey worked out well. So it's not. And by the way, I never think me wearing a jersey is affecting how those guys play at any point. I can show up at a Rider game with any jersey on; it's not going to change how the team plays on the field. But
trust me, Don't get me started on crazy superstitions about what Rider gear to wear, depending on if we're going to win or not. Because God knows I put myself through that torture, and my poor wife.
Well,
it has Glenn. I'm going to say it didn't matter what I was wearing that day, whether the Riders won or lost. Sadly.
Yeah. Well, wasn't that great part of the story with the Dallas goaltender? I can't even remember his name off the top of my head, but the Dallas goaltender, wasn't he the goaltender that said when the media said goalies don't talk on game day, and he goes, "Yeah, I can talk. You guys asking me a question is not going to change how I play, good or bad." I thought, great. That's how you should be thinking. Like, nice. Yeah, you can have your thing if it's superstition or whatever. Have your belief system, no problem. Some guys wake up at exactly the same time every day and all those things. But hey, I was a victim of that too. But you know what? I thought it was refreshing to hear that goalie say, "Yeah, go ahead, ask your questions. I don't care. It's not going to affect my play."
I will say this about Ottinger, Skinner, and Hellebuck. Those three goalies. We're seeing two that are playing really well right now. One is in some kind of funk. When everything's going your way, it always goes your way, right? Like the light changes for you at the right time. There's just enough ice in your drink. Whatever is going your way, it works out perfectly. Hellebuck right now could not get a warm cup of coffee at a restaurant. They'd spill it on him. Like there's nothing going that poor man's way. And he's got to figure out how to get out of that funk.
Dig, man. Practice fundamentals. And the third one, Maz, final one, it's summertime. And I heard, just coming into our segment, I heard that Kevin's Marine. I know Kevin well. And honestly, if you need a boat, go talk to Kevin. I'm telling you, he'll set you up. It's awesome out there. Yeah, it's fantastic. So anyway, I heard that. That was so I last like, shoot, fire away. We're out of time.
All right. Big day in the CFL. Last hour I had said, listen, a lot of people are anointing the Riders to automatically be in the Grey Cup, and it's good to have expectations. And it's a place that, as Rider fans, maybe we don't live. My point to Luke was, I don't care what the records are. You have to go into the Banjo Bowl and go punch Big Brother in the mouth, and you got to go win there because that's your demon. You haven't exercised it in years. They're our kryptonite. You got to do. Who knows? The Bombers could be in last place, but just by going and doing that, getting those roadblocks out of the way, because as Colson pointed out, you're going to play them again with second last week of the season. The Bombers are going to enter into the equation here. And the Bombers and the Riders, and Glenn, you've called all those games. You see one team 1 week be so dominant at home and then go on the road and then something changes and Winnipeg takes over that stadium, the vibe, the crowd. Zach Collaros, he's old, but he's good.
Yeah, and then they hit the stretch drive coming out of that game on the Banjo Bowl. And now you're in the stretch drive to the playoffs, and let's not forget they've been in the Grey Cup 4 straight years. So and they've only won it once, but they've been in the cup. They've been in the game. So if you're talking about the West, and believe me, listen, I listened to the segment with Luke, and I was ready to put the pads on.
Oh, nice.
I love it.
Because I played in a lot of those Banjo Bowls. In fact, the worst loss ever at any level I've ever been involved with was in the Banjo Bowl I think the final, Rob Vanstone would know this, but the final was 56-3 or something. We just got it handed to us in every aspect of the game. But, but Maj, you're onto something, because not necessarily, to me anyway, not necessarily just one game that changes the whole fortunes of the team. But the Bombers right now are the standard in the West. That's it. They're the big dog on the porch, as I like to say, I stole it from Matt Dunnigan. They're the big dogs on the porch. And until you knock them off, until you come and scare them down the stairs, then they are going to be there. And when the games become, the 2 points is 2 points at any time of the year. But when you're starting to sort of position yourself, now you're looking at, can we get a home game in the playoffs? Can we get to first place and get the bye in the playoffs? And you're starting to get into that part of the season where you can see it. That's where the Bombers start to accelerate. And it starts at that Banjo Bowl. So, I think you're onto something with it, because of they have been the best team in the West for 4 straight years. So until someone knocks them off that pedestal, they're still going to be that team.
I agree, and I think it's a team that Luke said it best. You got to punch them in the mouth. You got to knock them down. I think the Riders are an incredibly strong team right now. On paper, we haven't seen them hit anybody else other than themselves. Incredibly strong team. Winnipeg is, like you say, is that team to take on. But having said that, like, Toronto's still a great football team. Like, don't dismiss those games against those guys. BC's going to be a good team. Calgary's going to be better than they were. Edmonton, I think, is a tire fire, but that's a different conversation. So don't dismiss those games just because you're focused on knocking off the team that's number one. You got to beat everybody, and they got to be ready to go every day.
Yeah, I mean, that's the process. I think Luke touched on it too, but that's the process. And I think what Corey Mace is trying to build is that, if you improve every day and you bring your best to every practice, every rep, then what the opponent's doing is less important all the time. And then you stop sort of saying, well, let's look at what the other guys have to see how our chances are going into this game. You don't look at that anymore. You stop. You just start thinking, we're confident. We're walking in there, favorite or not favorite, what anyone else is saying in the media doesn't really matter to the team in the locker room. Just walk out there with confidence, knowing that you put the work in and that you're ready to go to war with your teammates. Then you start to build that momentum. But you're right. It isn't just one team. It isn't just one game. It's about the process. I'll make another hockey analogy here with that. In beer league, when you get to the benches and you're watching warm up and you see the other team and you think, oh, they only have like 3 spares tonight. We should be able to walk over these guys. Like, and our whole team on the sideline. I used to say every time, I said, guys, it doesn't matter what they have. It doesn't matter what they do. All that matters is how we take care of our stuff. Are we going to win those battles? Are we going to get it out of our end? Are we going to chip it in when we have to? Am I going to just make sure that our line doesn't get scored on? That's all we cared about, because we'd scored 2 goals a season. But the point being that sometimes when they only had 3 spares and they had like 7 skaters or 8 skaters, they were their best 8. And they handed it to us because we went over there and looked and went, well, they don't have enough spares. They're going to be dead tired. Yeah, we started to get in our head that what happens over there on the other bench is more important than what we're doing. So, I'm right into hockey mode because I'm watching playoffs every single night here now, all of a sudden. But I just, I think Luke is bang on. It's not just one team. You have to be improving and growing and building, and most importantly, coming together, believing in each other as the season goes on. That takes some time.
And doing it, not just talking about it. All right.